With the Holy Mass in St. Peter's Square on Sunday, the 4-week synod came to an end. For 4 weeks, the more than 400 participants gathered at the Vatican to discuss the future of the Church in the context of the Synod on Synodality, initiated by Pope Francis in 2021. This synod will end in a year, with the next assembly in Rome in October of 2024. Speaking about his experience of taking part in the synod, Archbishop Timothy Broglio, the president of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, underlined the need in the future to encourage greater participation by the faithful everywhere.
The participation in the 2 years leading up to the synod, less than 1% of the Catholics throughout the world participated. So I think one thing going forward that we have to do is to encourage greater participation and invite people to partake and really engage in this process of speaking and listening and praying together. I think that would be a source of really growth for the Church.
Pope Francis repeatedly emphasized that the Holy Spirit was the protagonist of this synod. The Secretary General of the Nordic Bishops' Conference, Sister Anna Mirijam Kaschner, confirmed in an interview with EWTN that the Holy Spirit actually played an important role during the synod.
The Holy Spirit was definitely palpable, right from the beginning. Before the synod, we made a 3-day retreat, and the fact that we got to prepare ourselves for the synod in silence and prayer was very important. We expressed a wish to do this again at the next synod. And about this concept of conversation and the Holy Spirit, I believe that many bishops and the present lay people experience such a kind of communication for the first time. I believe that the Holy Spirit was truly present, and that had an effect on the atmosphere in the Synod Hall.
Cardinal Michael Czerny, prefect of the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development, stressed that it's not the structures of the Church themselves that should be changed, but the way they are dealt with.
I think what we're going to, what we will discover is not what you might say a new idea, but we will learn to live within those structures, or to move with those structures, or maybe even best to say that those structures will move with us in a synodal fashion, and that this will allow those structures, which is a kind of a stiff or inflexible word, it will allow those structures to be more supple and to be able to fulfill their purpose better.
Mm-hmm.
Among the other speakers at the briefings during the synod was the newly appointed Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, prefect of the Dicastery for Bishops. When asked about the role of women in the Church and the controversial issue of women's ordination, the Cardinal said,
ordaining women, and there's been some women that have said this, interestingly enough, clericalizing women doesn't necessarily solve a problem. It might make a new problem. And that perhaps we need to look at a new understanding or different understanding of both leadership, power, authority, and service, above all service, in the Church from the different perspectives that can be, if you will, brought to the life of the Church by women and men.
The synthesis report presented at the end of the synod has 40 pages. The participants in the synod will now try to take the next step, such as the German bishop Stefan Oster.
I hope
that we'll get something like a guide, because we have the text, which is 40 pages. It's quite dense and content-rich, and it's a subject that probably won't be read by that many people. And that's why I hope we're still going to get something more compact. Now, I will tell with joy about the way we went and also try to implement the method here and there. And I will try to tell enthusiastically how it was possible that completely different cultures and positions found each other. But of course, this will not be easy. In the Synod Hall, we now talk enthusiastically about what we have experienced. But if you have not experienced it, and now I go home and tell, friends, this was all great, now let's do it, well, I don't know whether they all will think it's so great and just go along with it.
At the end of the Synod, the speech of Pope Francis was therefore eagerly awaited, but he was surprisingly brief and emphasized once again that listening to the Holy Spirit is the most important thing.
I want to remind you that the protagonist of this Synod is the Holy Spirit. Thank you, all from the bottom of my heart.
Final question. What gives you hope?
Christus.
Jesus Christ.
Leidenschaftlich, wie soll ich sagen, also wenn ich auf meinen Herrn
When I
schaue,
look at my Lord, I think to myself, for whom else should I go and live? I want to proclaim Him. I wouldn't know what else to live for.
Ich wüsste nicht, für was ich sonst leben soll.